Dr. Gloria Lattimore Peace and the H3O show family would like to take time today to honor the life of Rasheed Akbar. Rasheed was a powerful ambassador of African American culture, and he will surely be missed. Among the many gifts he left to us was his production of the very first all-black ice show in the history of the world. Rasheed wanted all Americans to experience the beauty of our culture through his ice show, whose theme covered the Black experience from its African roots all the way to the hip-hop movement. Rasheed made it his life's work to encourage the world to be proud of the unique contributions made by African Americans to the beauty of this universe. And for that, Rasheed Akbar, you will be remembered. Thank you for your life and your presence in our lives. Here are just a few clips from Ebony on Ice, the creation of Rasheed Akbar and Ali Muhammad. Rasheed Akbar was a supreme advocate for the greatness that lies within each of us, and his only wish was to see us realize our true beauty. Now, for a moment of prayer as we continue to honor the life of Rasheed Akbar.
In the name of the everlasting Father, he that causes all that exists to exist, he that is self-existent, he who directs the sunships of millions and trillions of years, he who made time, the seed of the universe. He's known among ancient Kemites as Amun-Ra, among the Hebrews as Ansof, Yahweh, and Elohim, among the Christians as Lord God and Jehovah, among the Muslims as Allah, the one God, among the Rastafarians as Jah, Rastafari. But I bear witness that all of these names refer to the same one, Almighty God, the Creator, Lord of the worlds. And it's to that entity that I give reverence and to whom I submit. I'd like to greet all of my listening audience in the greeting words of peace. Hotel, Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, Abrahagani, Alafia.
My name is Babu Atiba, and as we celebrate the legacy of Brother Rasheed Akbar, a command from our ancestors come to mind, which says, a person who knows not and knows not that they know not is foolish. Disregard them. A person who knows not and knows that they know not is simple. Teach them. A person who knows not and believes that they know is dangerous. Avoid them. A person who knows and knows not that they know is asleep. Awaken them. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All of these persons reside in you. Know thyself, and to Ma'at be true.
Rhapsody to Rasheed. Woke up to a text that morning from Zenobia. Rasheed is dear. My first thought was, why is she telling me that Rasheed is dear? Yes, I know, we all know Rasheed is dear, yet my spirit knew that spell check had gone awry. And again, though Rasheed is indeed dear, Rasheed is also dead. I'm not one who deals in euphemisms, so no disrespect intended. I know that spirit lives on forever, but in the physical world, our beloved brother Rasheed Akbar is dead. Never will he call, will he create, organize, support, finance, dream up another one of his grand projects. I loved Rasheed deeply, reveling in a love supreme. Rasheed was a rare kind of man. He was radical, razor sharp in his thinking, raging in his determination to generate new ideas, responsible to the needs of our people, a real live rebel with red hot ideas and plans to revolutionize the plight of our regressed African race. Rasheed was real. While on his journey, he touched many souls that required rehabilitation from reckless ways, responding with resounding respect, sharing his own story of once being reprehensible renegade, yet now renewed in the spirit. Rasheed was responsible, repentant, resourceful, respectful. So now, as he is absent from the body, yet so ever alive in the spirit, I take this time to honor him, to salute the man who did so much for us, to the legacy he left us as he goes on to the high place reserved for the most respected royal ancestors. May his deeds on earth continue to resonate righteousness, ring in our sacred rituals, and race in our rhythmic songs and dances. May his rest in eternity radiate resolve of his favorite things round midnight, no longer entertaining the taste of bitter, strange fruit. More than dreaming, but actually hanging out nights in Tunisia, kissing his funny Valentine and his daughter singing a song for her father. Because he passed my way, in spite of life's rough, roguish, rude challenges, I can say to myself, what a wonderful life. I thank Rasheed Akbar for passing my way. Mercy, mercy me.
Hotep, I'm Dr. Gloria Lattimore Peace, host and producer of the H3O show. We are gathered here to bear witness to the legacy of Rasheed Akbar, who has joined the ancestors. We know that ours is a community of the living, the dead, and the yet unborn. So shall he live. I want to tell you that the guests that appear on this show today have been gracious to come to pay homage to Rasheed Akbar because they loved him, as do so many others. I want to thank those who made presentations at the beginning. I want to thank Babu Atiba, our drummer. I want to thank Oroki, our poet. I want to thank Chawah and Zenobia, who sang for us. And I want to greet on the stage Bennie Lee and again Oroki, who is going to talk about the legacy of Rasheed Akbar in this part one of our tribute. I greet you. I want you to begin wherever you like to talk about your experience, your relationship, your recollection, your reflection of Rasheed. I suppose it would be fitting to let you have a voice now, Bennie.
When I think about Rasheed Akbar, I think about how I got focused to go down the straight path that my parents had put me on initially and that God had intended for me to go down before I went astray through prisons and gang affiliation and drug addiction. It was at the time that I was court mandated to long-term drug treatment that I ran into Rasheed, who had retired as a counselor there, but came back to grab a residence there and exposed us to, he called SIT, Staying in Touch, was an organization that he formed.
Thank you.
And I became a member of SIT. And that's when I learned that my recovery from addiction, it had to be fulfilled through understanding who I am as an African here in America. The treatment center, it didn't give me that. It didn't give me essence to who I was. But coming in contact with Rasheed Akbar, he brought something out of me that was there, but I was ignorant of. And as he exposed me to different plays, because I thought plays were for white people, he exposed me to plays. He brought me into a community where I met black nationalists. I met people that were culturally aware, people that had cultural pride versus what I was experiencing in the streets, cultural shame. So I owe a lot to him because he made not only recovery make sense, but it helped me make my transition from a lifestyle of gang affiliation, prisons, and drug addiction. He made that transformation more real and long-lasting, and as a result, now it's 30 years since I've been under the influence of a drug or incarcerated. So I owe that to Rasheed.
I'm so happy that you recall the name of the organization, because I had been trying to remember, because when I met him, that was his affiliation. So thank you for all of the memories that you have, and especially for attributing to him the role that he played in helping you to realize yourself more fully. And now I want to turn to the sister who has another aspect to discuss.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you for reminding me also of Sid. I had forgotten that myself. I also met Rasheed as I was in a recovery process myself. I was so impressed that he took his recovery beyond the 12-step model, which is real,
Right.
to take it out to the community, that I was more than just responsible for my own recovery, but I was responsible to take it back out to the community. I had actually been a part of the nationalist community before I started using drugs. I slipped and slided and found my way after coming in contact with the ideals of knowing Baba Hannibal, Baba Atiba, the Baba Kwame Ture. I had been exposed to that, and again found myself sliding in the world of drug addiction and a little bewildered by how did that happen to me. But Rasheed came into my life, and I was excited to know that not only could I recover from drug addiction, but I could take my rightful place again back into the community and serve the people as I had been known to do from the time I was a young teenager. I was inspired also that Rasheed respected all traditions. I heard the prayer at the beginning, and I remember him always giving homage to the Christians, to the Hebrews, to the people who practiced Yahweh, who did Ifa, whatever tradition they served. And I remember going to the Legacy Theater, and when I saw the ice story again, I remembered wanting to be a ballerina or an ice skater myself as a young child, and feeling that like that was something I couldn't do as a young black girl. But I'm glad that other young girls were able to see that and be able to know that they could do things like that themselves.
Well, I'm glad that we're here to spend some time, because, you know, when they do the memorial service, as all memorial services must be limited by time, they always have a 2-minute limit. You know, get up and remember this person in 2 minutes. And it's impossible for you to say the way that you really feel about somebody in 2 minutes if you care deeply enough to be standing there in the first place. So we do have a little time to stretch out. And I want to say that Rasheed, seems to me, once you know him forever, even if you don't see him. And it seemed to me that he was always calling me up and he was always talking about his next vision, you know, and he had, you know, he just had constant inspiration. He was a most creative person and he had just constant inspiration, and they were not small dreams. Right. You know, these were always huge, big, high budget items that he was trying to do on a shoestring, and he was trying to make other people see the value in lifting the culture of African people. And at base, Rasheed was an African. Yes. Now, he might have been Muslim, but he was an African, and he saluted African culture and he saluted African people wherever he found them, whatever he found them doing. I can't remember ever having heard him say a harsh thing about anybody. Was that your experience with him?
No, that was part of his presentation to me, is that, yeah, a lot of our people, African people, black people, engage in a lot of negativity, a lot of backbiting, but they still our people. If we lose love for our people, then we lose the battle that we in. You know, the battle is lost within. So we got to understand why our people do what they do and continue to love them because of what we went through as a people. You know, losing our mind, losing our culture, losing essence to who we are, and maneuver to look at each other as opposition to each other. So that's something I also learned from him too, is that we got to love our people in spite of the person that may want to block the doorway at the store you're trying to get in, or might even break in your car. You know, still love him because he don't have a clue as to why he do those things to his own people. And once our awareness is raised as to how our people have been systematically maneuvered to function like that, right? We got to continue to teach, continue to love, and that's our job, is to pull them into a new awareness as to who they are and reconnect them back to the group, the diaspora, the African family, the black family. So, yeah.
You know, I think about the way that he moved about the community and showed up everywhere and did always pay homage. He seemed to have known everybody, and he seemed to have known what everybody was doing. And so he did tributes all the time. He was forever honoring somebody. And I remember being the mistress of ceremony at Malcolm X College when he honored Baba Hannibal Afrique and Okoro Harold Johnson. He wanted always to pay homage to those people in whom he found value, and he found value in virtually everybody. My question is, and we can't answer it, but we can approach it, how does someone become a Rasheed Akbar when you say Rasheed came into your life and helped you to transcend a lifestyle that was potentially destructive or was destructive? You say he had the same effect on you, but who did that for Rasheed? How did Rasheed find that self that presented itself to you and to you so that you could look for that same essence in yourself? Do you know anything about? It seems he was a grown man. Yes. He never had a childhood. So how? He certainly didn't learn it in the institutions. Yes. He didn't learn it in the various organized religions. He didn't learn it in the prison. Where do you find that which gives you so much nurture that you can go out and feed others? What do you think?
I think that some of us come here with an extra bit of fire.
Okay.
And I think Rasheed was just one of those ones that just came here with a little something extra on him. And I think we all are given something. And sometimes we know that in our early years, but as you said, Rasheed seemed to have known that from the beginning. He came to me already, like as you said, like fully grown. He was a fully grown man, but almost in the realm of a high being to be respected from a holy man, as you say, from the very beginning. I like that you said I never heard him say a bad word about anybody either. I never heard Rasheed complain about anything. I always saw him pick up whenever he had those projects he worked on. He picked up and started the next one and just moved on. He called me every time he had a new one going on. He would call and need you to sell some tickets, sister. And I sold tickets because I believed in his dream. And there just seemed to be something about him that made him a little bit special. And he seemed to know that, and he seemed that he was dedicated to fulfilling whatever his mission was.
Well, you know, Dr. Burroughs wrote the poem, What Shall I Tell My Children Who Are Black? And one of the lines in there says, I have drunk deep of my African culture, sat at the foot of Mother Africa and learned. And perhaps because he was so African-centered, he was able to draw forth that. Because, you know, Malcolm X could turn to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and say, I was, you know, in prison and I learned about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I began to, you know, I began to understand what my situation was, what our plight was as a people, and I began to change. Rasheed he never told me that at this point he either had an epiphany or that he was following anybody. You know, even though I knew he was Muslim, he never pointed out that he was following anybody. Mostly it appeared that he was following his own inner guide.
Yes.
Because the kinds of ideas he came up with were just, I think I may have told Babu Atiba as we waited for the show to start, that one day he called me up and he was about to take over one of the biggest churches on the South Side. He was going to turn it into an institution, and he had a blueprint for using every inch of space in this humongous building. Yes. And I just tried to calm myself because I could see that he was biting off a huge piece, because just the heat or to cool that building would be just a major feat if you never put anything else in it, and it needed repair and it probably needed rehab. I never got to see it, and I hope that somebody talked him out of it, because he didn't go through with it. But he was always looking for space. He had a Geiger counter out, his antenna was out, and he was always looking for the potential in things. Where can you do this? How can you do this? Who can do this? How can I do this? Did you find that in him as well?
Yeah, and just knowing a little bit about his background, you know, we got to keep in mind the era he grew up in as a little boy and what he was exposed to as a young man. He grew up in that era they call the Village, right near Maxwell Street, that black people call Jewtown.
Okay.
And right across the street on Roosevelt Road, you had an Italian community.
Okay.
And the black children, in which he was on the south side of Roosevelt Road, were constantly discriminated against and held back, couldn't cross that Roosevelt Road. And so they were able to see firsthand how the white Italian children were getting favors and where they were being harassed by police officers. And out of that, you saw a lot of people grow out of those conditions and went down a road in an illegal sense, but became like heroes of the community, because what they did was to bring resources back to the community. It was even during that era you had the West Side Organization, WSO. Rasheed was a young guy growing up during that era with WSO. The Vice Lords that moved to become from a street gang to a community organization to become entrepreneurs and open up businesses. This is the era he grew up in. This is what he was exposed to. And later, he became a drug addict himself. But it was that fight you talked about that was in him, and that was his biggest battle, that he knew to become as a drug addict, that he was going against his true values. He was going against that drive in him that was pushing him. He knew he was going against that by becoming a drug addict. And so when he became a recovering drug addict and he killed off the demon in him, the addiction, then all that he visioned as a young boy, a teenager growing up, came to life. So that was his purpose of existence, that I got to go back to that young dreamer and change these conditions I grew up in, because now I see it on a broader perspective. And my way is to reconnect our people back to who we truly are, and not live through the eyes of those who oppress us. So this is kind of what I picked up from just being in his presence and working with him. One time we worked together. You know, I was the clinical coordinator of a drug program and hired him as a senior counselor. And he exposed the clients to cultural events, took those that came out of prison back into prison, those that dropped out of high school back into high school, and taught them how to take their own stories and tell it in an educational way.
Edutainment.
Edutainment,
Yes.
yeah.
You know, it's not surprising that Zenobia Renee decided to sing Ancient Fire, because when you said he had that fire in him, I don't know if she read your mind or she intuited that, but you know, she chose that song by Brother Kalan, Phil Karan, to sing, and it's to me, it's this what we're doing here is part and parcel, it's organic to who Rasheed is and who he was, because he did things. You know, he didn't have a lot of reservations or hesitation about what he was going to do, you know, and he was presumptuous, you know, and some people don't know how to handle that. Some people don't, you know, how are you taking me for granted? How do you think you can just call me up and tell me to sell tickets? Or how do you think you can just call me up and tell me, you know, just recruit me to come and MC a program? You've already put the whole program together, so now you want me to come and facilitate this, and I may stumble because I don't really know what you're doing, except I agree that what you're doing is a good thing. But the whole idea that we can gather here, you know, that I can call you on the phone and say, this is what I want to do, and except for making a minor adjustment about the day and time to fit the schedules that everybody had, we're here. I didn't know what you were going to recite, and I presume that you wrote this since we talked.
This morning.
Okay. That is Rasheed-esque. that is typical Rasheed. Rasheed would shoot from the hip.
Yes.
He would take off, he would rev up the engines and be airborne by the time you knew it, you know, and if you just have to either decide you weren't flying that day, or you just had to be up there with him, not knowing exactly how long you were going to be able to stay up there. But it's something that he mentions about having had this deep respect for Baba Hannibal, having this deep respect for Oscar Brown Jr. And as you say, he grew up in an era where we saw real people, real creative genius in our midst. And where you get this idea that there was a Jackson 5, there was a Jackson 5 on every street corner.
Yes.
You know, there was Mahalia Jackson in every church. We had talented, so much so that I think we didn't know what to do with it. Our children had so much creative energy that if we didn't channel it into something that was real, then it was bound to be used up in all of these other ways. What are they going to do with all this energy? What are they going to do with all this creativity? They're going to get caught up in something because they're going to do something. Yes. And what programs do we have for them to participate in that they might find an outlet for this genius and that it may be recognized? Because most of our children are not believed to have any value and very little in the way of anything else that should be, acknowledged. So we have that, and I know you have an organization, I know you have an organization, and when we get into part 2, I want to talk more about your organizations, but if you can just tell me a little bit more about SIT, about staying in touch, because I remember that that's what Rasheed did, and I know that he used a cultural instrument in the recovery program. He gave people what they call Black Pride. How, tell me more about that.
SIT, stay in touch.
Who named that?
Rasheed.
Right, okay, Rasheed named it, all right.
Right, Rasheed, he was one of the counselors at the Gateway Foundation, and he found that some of the other counselors were graduates of Gateway because of their own drug addiction. And he would see a lot of people like myself come through Gateway, and people would go astray and lose conscious of who they are and go back to using drugs. And so he came up with the concept of stay in touch, that if you don't stay in touch, then you get out of touch, then you lose. And so that whole thing was to go back, like Harriet Tubman went back into slavery to bring slaves out of slavery. And so those that, like Rasheed, that had came out of addiction, went back right where those that were struggling with addiction to bring them out of it. Not so much physically, but consciously, emotionally, psychologically. And we got to stay in touch with them and teach them how to stay in touch with their peers so we can build a new generation of people so that people would know that it is a way out of this addiction, and it's a way out to sustain you. And that's what keep me going now, is that I look at drugs now as a weapon against African people. Not me personally.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, and so that's what that whole concept is, to look at it and give it a different paradigm. So that's what stands. And then he coined that term, edutainment. To take that raw talent we have, all right, and educate, and at the same time entertain, because our people like to be entertained, and that's how you can catch our people's attention. If you can entertain them, and they're going to come for the entertainment, but now that you got them, then you can teach them also. That's what that whole thing of edutainment is all about.
Right. I think he thought that it was a waste of time and energy and other resources to do nothing but make people laugh, just to make people feel good. And at the end of that, nothing had changed in their lives. They had learned nothing. They had considered nothing, and their outlook, neither their outlook nor their situation had been altered in any way. And at least one person mentioned that he was so heavy on the edu part of the attainment that sometimes people who are accustomed to heavy entertainment were not attracted by some of the things because, for Rasheed, he didn't see that it made any sense, and he was right, because African culture, if he had been raised in a village in Africa, when you said he was living in the village, if that had been an African village in the true sense, not just a segregated part of the city, he couldn't have been any more Rasheed than he was. It was as though he grew up immersed in that culture, and therefore he knew what the proper responses were. He knew the kinds of things to do. He knew that our people were lost. and that they needed to find themselves. And once they connected, they needed to stay connected. What's your outlook about that, about this staying in touch in any sense, any real way? Because most of the time, I'm saying, I want to give you some background for what I'm thinking. Most of the time, if people get out of what they consider a bad or damaging situation, they don't want no part of it. They don't want to go back. If you move out of a bad neighborhood, quote, you move out of a bad neighborhood, if you get out of a bad relationship, if you get off of a bad job, you're not trying to go back and do nothing. You're just trying to see to it that that don't catch up with you again in this lifetime. So what would motivate somebody to turn around and wade back, because you know how hopeless you were in that situation? So now you know you're going to have some knuckleheads. You're going to have some people whose drugs going to talk to you, because they're not, when you're in a relationship, well, I don't even know if you can call it a relationship. When you are dealing with somebody who is out of touch, you are not talking to that person, because that person is not listening to you. You are talking to the substance. The substance is standing there speak. It's like a ventriloquist. You know, they open their mouths, but the substance is telling you, and they telling you, I'm not high, or I'm not, you know, I haven't, what do you mean? I haven't had nothing, you know. And they give you all kind of good reasons why they didn't do something they promised to do, or why they did do something they promised not to do. That's hard. That's got to be hard work, because it's hard work on a limited basis when you're just in a relationship with somebody that you can go to your house and leave them somewhere else. But why would you go into a situation where you know you're swimming upstream? Talk to me about that. Because Rasheed had to be trying to go ahead.
Well, like Malcolm X, he had the credibility when he did go back into the community to say, I was there. Okay. I have done what you did. Okay. I did drugs, and I'm off of drugs now. Okay. I've been to prison, and so I'm out of prison. And here I am. So people couldn't say, you don't know what I'm talking about to him. Okay. You don't know where I've been. You don't know how hard it is. Rasheed could tell you he had done that. And again, I just saw a fire that was in him that he had no choice but to do what he did. I sense that I have that same fire. I sense that this brother here has that same fire to go back into the cave once I'm out and pull some people out. Now, some people not going to want to come out. Some people going to want to stay there. But I have to do my job, and that's what I got that Rasheed knew. He knew he had to do his job to go back in and grab somebody's hand and pull them out. And he was very creative in doing that. He didn't preach to people. I never heard him just talk down to people. He just told them what his experiences were, showed them the light, and some people gravitated toward that light.
I got about 3 minutes for you to respond. I know you got a lot to say about that.
Well, she right.
Going back into the lion's den you just got out of.
Right. Some of the work I do now is to go back into the juvenile facility. I myself was a youngster in the juvenile facility, IYC St. Charles, as a juvenile prison. And I know me and my generation, when we went there back in the 60s, we all ended up in prison. So now I see these young brothers that's in there now, within 6 months coming out of there, they're going to end up in prison. We're constantly seeing that cycle. So I believe God saved me to go back there so that they won't cross that line. So if I can save as many from crossing that line into the adult system as I can, then I know I'm doing what God saved me to do. So that's...
Well, that's as good of answer as I could ever expect. That you see purpose in your life. Yes. That you know that it was not for you.
Right.
That Rasheed showed up just to get, you know, you really are special, but you know, there's how many billion people on the planet? You really ain't that special. That's right. That you should be salvaged just so you could be salvaged. But now the fire that was in Rasheed must have set off something in you. Some of that flame is burning in you, and now you are sparking some fire in some other people. Well, Rasheed he does have legacy, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yes,
Legacy.
so he lives on in the work and in the people whom he inspired. I thank you, Bennie Lee, for being my guest, and I thank you so much. I always try to say your name, and I say it. I'm gonna say Oroki.
That's it.
and try not to. I don't know why I want to translate your name into something else. What does it mean?
A protector. It's a Yoruba word for a protector.
A protector. Okay.
I was given the job to protect the culture and the children.
All right. Okay. And you're gonna change your name ever, Bennie? You've
Well,
been Bennie Lee all this time.
I've been through the rites of passage. I'm part of the N2 Rites of Passage Institute. Went through with Dr. Menza, Dr. and Ola Menji.
Okay.
I'm Kofi. I'm
Kofi.
a Friday's child.
Okay,
I'm a
Kofi.
wanderer, an innovator. Yeah.
Okay. So now you know you'll never live that down every time you see me. You will be Kofi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hotep.
I am Zenobia.
I am Mama Chawah.
With the permission of the ancestors, I stand. With the permission of the elders, I speak. Ome tutu, ona tutu, ile tutu, tutu la roye. Ome tutu, ona tutu, ile tutu, tutu la roye. Ome tutu, ona tutu, ile tutu, tutu la roye. There's a fire in my soul from long ago. Trust in God, we must learn to give children their turn. There is a fire in my soul from long ago.
When I look at the world, it fills me with sorrow. Children today really suffer tomorrow. Oh, what a shame. Such a bad way to live. Who is to blame when we can't stop living? Oh, live for life. But let's live, everybody. Live life for the children. Oh, for the children. Save the babies.
And to my art, be true.
We close today's tribute to Rasheed Akbar with another clip from his production of the world's first African American ice show, Ebony on Ice.
Raise the flag for Park.